Ukraine's skies have been a battleground and the world's been pushing NATO to step up with air cover. But NATO's hesitant, avoiding a direct clash with Russia. In the early days of the war, Ukraine's pleas for a no-fly zone were ignored. Now, things are shifting. Thanks to Western allies, Ukraine's Air Force is gearing up to protect its own skies. Air defense systems are flowing in, and there's serious talk about sending fighter jets like the F-15 and F-16. In this video, we're diving into these warbirds, their game-changing potential for Ukraine, and how they could turn the tide. Let's jump in. Russia's Air Force was supposed to dominate, but it's been a flop against Ukraine's skilled pilots. Despite having way more planes, Russian jets rarely dare cross Ukraine's borders, sticking to lobbing missiles from safe spots in Russia or Belarus. Early on, Russian leaders bragged they'd wiped out Ukraine's Air Force in February 2022. Big mistake. Ukraine's planes are still flying, hammering Russian ammo dumps, tanks and troops. The Ghost of Kiev legend and real-world strikes show Ukraine's Air Force is punching way above its weight, even with old Soviet-era MiG-29s and Su-27s. Ukraine's been begging for modern jets, and the US is listening. Republican congressman and ex-Air Force pilot Adam Kinzinger pushed for funds to train Ukrainian pilots on American fighters. Two Ukrainian pilots, call signs Juice and Moonfish, spoke at Capitol Hill and the Pentagon, sharing how tough it is to dogfight Russian jets in outdated MiG-29s. They want F-16s and training to level the playing field. Ukraine's Air Force spokesman, Yuri Ignat, says switching to new jets like the F-16 would take 6 months, mostly to master tactics and weapons. Juice claims he could learn to fly an F-16 in days, with a few weeks to nail the weapons. Ukraine's pilots are known for learning fast, sometimes 10 times quicker than expected, thanks to their grit and motivation. In 2022, the U.S. House approved an $840 billion defense budget, including $1 billion for Ukraine. Kinzinger's amendment added $100 million to train Ukrainian pilots on F-15s and F-16s. That's a big step toward getting these jets in Ukrainian hands. But why are the F-15 and F-16 such a big deal? Let's break it down, starting with the F-15 Eagle, a beast that first flew 50 years ago. This fourth-generation fighter is a legend, with 104 enemy planes shot down and 0 losses in combat. Powered by 2 Pratt & Whitney F-100 engines pumping out 23,500 pounds of thrust, it can hit Mach 2.5 and climb straight up past the speed of sound. Its APG-63 radar spots low-flying enemies 200 miles away, and its programmable processor allows software upgrades without swapping parts, a trick later used in the F-35. The F-15's been a star in the Middle East, Persian Gulf, Iraq, Libya, and Yugoslavia. The new F-15X Eagle II, built to replace older models, carries 12 air-to-air or 15 air-to-ground missiles, 4 times the F-35's load, while staying stealthy. Its electronic warfare system and data links let it team up with F-35S, using stealth jets intel to launch missiles from afar. With nearly 30,000 pounds of weapons, it's a flying arsenal that'd make Russian pilots panic. Now, the F-16 Fighting Falcon, born from lessons in Vietnam. The Air Force wanted a nimble, cheap alternative to heavy fighters like the F-4 Phantom, F-14 Tomcat, and F-15. In 1972, the lightweight fighter program pitted General Dynamics' YF-16 against Northrop's YF-17. The YF-16 won with better maneuverability, range, and cost, though the YF-17 became the Navy's FA-18 Hornet. At 20,000 pounds, the F-16 was way lighter than the 28,000-pound F-15 or 40,000-pound F-14. Its single engine traded power for agility, with fly-by-wire controls and a 9G maneuverability, first of its kind. A bubble canopy and side-mounted joystick, unlike the MiG-29 center stick, gave pilots better control. Armed with an M61 Vulcan cannon and 6 AIM-9 Sidewinder missiles, plus AIM-7 Sparrows or AIM-120 AMRAAMs, it's a multi-role monster. With 9 hardpoints, it carries air-to-air missiles, bombs, rockets, or fuel tanks. Lockheed Martin's South Carolina factory still churns out F-16s with flight hours extended to 12,000, ensuring they'll fly into the 2030s. A beefier F-16 XL prototype with double the payload could inspire future upgrades. Ukraine's current fleet relies on MiG-29 aircraft, a classic workhorse from the 1980s Warsaw Pact era. With a 30mm GH-31 cannon that carries 100 rounds, and 6 to 8 pylons for R-27, R-73 or R-60 missiles, bombs or fuel tanks, it's definitely versatile but also, well, pretty limited. Early models couldn't even fire the cannon if the center fuel tank was attached, which was, honestly, a weird flaw that later versions fixed. Its maneuverability actually rivals the F-16 and F-18, but the short range, lack of a HOTAS system and a clunky cockpit really hold it back. Ukraine's MiG-29s are modernized, but Russia's own admission back in 2009 that 200 of their 300 MiG-29s were grounded due to tail corrosion just shows how poorly maintained their fleet is. By July 2022, Ukraine reported downing 220 Russian aircraft, which really proves their pilots' skill, even when flying older gear. Western allies are, really stepping up. Poland and Slovakia offered MiG-29s in exchange for F-16s, and spare parts from some unnamed countries helped Ukraine restore 20 Soviet jets. Poland reportedly sent nearly its entire stock of MiG-29 parts, which basically let Ukraine keep its planes flying. Germany's aid list included MiG-29 parts too, though their bureaucracy tends to slow down delivery. These parts are absolutely critical, but F-15s and F-16s would honestly be a total game changer. The F-15X's missile load and radar would dominate Russian jets, while the F-16's agility and multi-role flexibility would help outmaneuver them in dogfights and ground strikes. Training is the real bottleneck, 6 months at minimum. But Ukraine's pilots are fast learners, so they could probably cut that down. The $100 million US training fund is a good start, but jets won't arrive until late 2025 at the earliest, and that's still pending political green lights. Challenges definitely remain. Russia's air defenses like the S-400 pose a real threat even to modern jets, so careful tactics are a must. Ukraine needs strong ground support, radar, anti-air systems to keep new planes protected. Logistics are also key. Things like F-16 parts and ammo need to flow steadily, and airfields have to be fortified against Russian strikes. Pilot training, especially in English and with NATO tactics, is another hurdle, though Ukraine's already shown it can adapt. If F-15s and F-16s actually arrive, they could shift the air war, letting Ukraine hit Russian bases, supply lines and jets from much safer distances. Combined with NASAMS and Patriot systems, they'd really help lock down the skies. When will Ukraine get these jets? Share your guesses in the comments, especially if you're following military news. Smash that like button, subscribe, and check out our videos on Ukraine's tanks and drones for more. The fight for Ukraine's skies is definitely heating up.